From this vantage point, you could see why conflict can actually be a really good thing, because it helps to kind of almost recalibrate the relationship. So we're working on maintaining relationships with loved ones who we disagree with. Now, in any healthy relationship, what we always have are two separate people who mutually agree to maintain a relationship because they care about one another and they are bound by some bond, right? So they're close, but of course they are different. And these are the two kind of things that we have to do in any relationship. We have to maintain connection while at the same time asserting our separateness, our differences. And this is tricky because we're having to be together and separate all at the same time. It's a bit of a paradox. And this is actually where conflict comes in, because it really alerts us to the fact that this together and separateness thing is a little bit out of whack, either for one or both people. So from this vantage point, you could see why conflict can actually be a really good thing, because it helps to kind of almost recalibrate the relationship. And we see this happen when people fight or they withdraw a bit from one another. And what's going on is they're actually trying to find space, right? More psychological space to be understood or to be acknowledged in their different feelings, different opinions. Okay, now when this is done correctly, while it might be stressful with loads of sort of hot emotions, usually afterwards what we see is that people feel better. They feel more understood, they feel relieved, and we see the relationship improve better than before. That's the key. Now here's the problem though, as we've been seeing. We don't like other people's separateness all the time. And we don't always feel like other people allow us our separateness. And this creates a very different type of conflict, more of the intractable kind. So not productive conflict, intractable. And this type is very damaging, okay? And what we know is that people can get kind of compulsively caught up in this. It can be almost a little bit addictive because it's actually stimulating. It's negatively stimulating, but it's stimulating all the same, okay? So when relationships are actually running low on that good stimulation and good connection, play, fun, affection, problem solving, sometimes what goes on is they get hooked on the negative stimulation. So you can kind of see the relationship there. Now, if you're having regular disagreements with loved ones over things that you really can't control and that never result in any resolution, here are a few things that we can think about that I think are important. Number one, have a plan in advance for how you want discussions to go. Think about it beforehand. Do not stumble into already frayed relationships without thinking about how you are going to take responsibility for reducing tension. Are you going to modulate your voice? Are you going to refuse to talk about certain topics? Are you going to change the topic at key points, right? Are you going to talk about what you have in common, things you both love or enjoy, things you share, right? What's a neutral topic that'll work? Okay, now, should you unwittingly step on some kind of interpersonal landmine, Gottman tells us that the first 3 minutes of a conflict are critical to it either being managed effectively or spiraling out of control. So here are a couple of helpful phrases that you can use when it gets a little bit hot. These are ways of kind of affirming the bond without necessarily giving in to anything that feels wrong to you. Okay? You can say, well, okay, I guess we both have pretty good reasons for feeling strongly about this topic. Or you can say something like, look, it's a tough topic. I think a lot of people are having the same disagreement we are. It's not getting solved today anyways. Okay? You can say something like, we don't want to misunderstand one another. Let's just leave it for now. Or you can say, it's a good thing that we have a lot of things that we agree on because this just isn't going to be one of them, and that's okay, right? Something like, look, the world's going a little crazy. We certainly don't have to. Or sometimes what's helpful is you can say to someone, I want to enjoy our time together today. Let's not waste it talking about this. All right. And if all of that fails, the good old, how about them Bears, Dolphins, Bills, that might work. That can be very effective. And if you're feeling a little bit passive-aggressive, you can say something like, do you like puppies? I like puppies. Great. And that's a shared bond. Okay? These tend to work. They diffuse it, and you want to do it in the first 3 minutes. Okay. One final note. If you do have to speak about something hard, remember those I statements that we talked about, because there's a big difference between, I'm not sure, I think it could be a little bit more complicated than that, and you actually think that's all there is to it. You can kind of feel the difference, right? I statements, no always, no never. You always, you never. Avoid those at all cost, particularly in the first 3 minutes, okay? All right, so there's lots for us to, I think about there, right? And I think that if you can manage that and some boundaries, you've got a chance of getting out of there without getting infected, right? Now, one thing I want you to think about too is, ask yourself honestly, are we actually fighting here about the border, Gaza, the election? Or are we fighting about something else? A lot of personal stuff gets projected onto the big stuff. So is it politics, or are you both still mad about something else that you never resolved? And if this is the case, you both usually know what it is. Okay? Cool heads, warm hearts, no unproductive conflict.